Hello everyone. A very, very angry Jack the Wolf here, or JD Myrick-Smith if you to go by my channel name. Now I'm here with a rant. Well, I would rather call this a discussion, but this is more driven by anger and emotion. Less opinion, evidence, facts, and experience. Here's a rant video on rants and the 2 blank videos. I hate them. Yeah, I legitimately hate them. And this is coming from someone who, in fact, I say you shouldn't hate anything. That's one thing I try to bring myself to. Not hate anything. Not wish ill will on others. Sometimes certain things you can't control. Goes right down to it. I hate rant in the 2 blank videos. Grant. Because guess what they do? They single out YouTubers or other people who aren't YouTubers, people in general, single them out and humiliate them. Single out and attack them. They single out and harass them, bash them. They single out a group of people, single out a team of people. They single out a couple or something. And they attack, humiliate, bash. You know what that's also called? Singling out and attacking? Singling out and humiliating, harassing? Bullying. You want to know why? I hate rant videos with a burning passion. I will tell you. Because they do nothing to help. Oftentimes they're made when there's drama and there's a big old problem, a big old controversy. But here's the thing. They don't do anything to help. All they do is make the problem worse for everyone. I can think of a few people who's had this happen to them, but not any from news. Or things like that, because I don't lot of that. Because I don't really pay attention to a lot of it, because oftentimes the media crowds it with bullshit and shit like that. But I can think of 3 YouTubers. Actually, think more around 4 YouTubers that sort of have this happen to them. Toby Turner, Bashiverse, Leafy is here, and most recently, I'm sure a lot of people are gonna hate it, my opinion when I bring this guy up, Ultima Almighty. Now then, all 4 of them had some controversy. Guess what happens? Mountains of hate. A lot of which, I know for a fact, either did come from or most likely came from word of mouth. Misinformed videos of people ranting. The stupid 2 blank videos. And you might be mentioning, didn't I make a 2 blank video to someone? Yes, that was to a YouTuber known as Green. But here's the thing though. Mine was not calling him out specifically, it was calling out his skill. And I am a Minecraft YouTuber, so is he. But one thing that bothers me is that he's a Minecraft builder. I say in quotation marks, because generally, when he builds practical stuff, it looks pretty cool. But when he builds something for like his tutorials, or something that he wants to look cool and flashy for video, it sacrifices most of the practicality. And they look cool, but on the inside, they look god-awful. Which is why he made videos on how to improve your Minecraft house interior, the exterior. Because he knew people were going to eventually call him out on this. So I made a 2 green video, primarily calling him out, stating this is how an actual builder builds. They build practically. Even if they're going for style, they integrate practicality to shape the style. Now enough on that, so you can't call me a hypocrite. Toby Turner. Bashverse, two similar situations, both accused of rape. Toby Turner, known to be a sleazeball, a bit of a dick. But at the same time, plenty of people have caught out and defended him, stating he's not a bad person. For Bashverse, when he was accused, he had a mental breakdown on camera. He went through tons of crap. He was accused constantly. The difference is that Toby's, I'm not sure if he's still kicking. I haven't exactly checked. He might be, but don't quote me on that. And he's still somewhat around. Bashverse, on the other hand, took it awfully. He was bombarded and he had a breakdown. And he privatized tons of videos that are still private to this day. If you check his channel, yeah, he is starting to come back again. But check it, you'll see videos that are from 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago actually. It's like they're his old videos, some of his first ones. Then you see a sudden gap of just nothingness, and it goes 2 years ago, 1 year ago, a few months ago, a few weeks ago. And that's because those videos are still private. Then there's Leafy Is Here. An older one, but someone who still gets bashed, and I don't personally hate the guy. Because he mentions in his intros, do not go to witch hunt the people I roast in my videos. Simply put, he even roasts himself, tons of times. Comes right down to it, Leafy is not a hateful person, which is a lot of people call him. From nothing more but rumors and misinformed videos. Same time, when people make a response, if they're an actual angry video, it's often because they're probably offended because Leafy said something that was too far. And in Leafy's controversy take, he was misinformed. In other cases, they're more likely just, responses in the little YouTube game. But I doubt anyone wants to respond with hate if they're not making a very overly, a legitimately angry rant about him, which is more what I'm making about rant videos and stupidity in general. And there's most recently, Ultimate Almighty, and I'm sure plenty of you will likely know what I'm referring to. Ultimate Almighty was a reaction/gamer channel. And he went through some controversy. And I've seen his explanation. I've seen other rants about him. And honestly, all the rants, they're awful. They don't do anything to help. All they do is cause more hate. Ultimate's case, and most other cases, except for Toby, but don't quote me on that, because I believe he did not have a breakdown on camera. Just had to persevere through it. People say, you put up a nice facade. It's like, here's the thing about a facade. Facade is something used in a play. What is a facade made? To mimic reality. Something that is made to pretend, but grounded in what is real, taking inspiration. What that means is, if a person makes a facade of themselves, in every facade, there's a bit of that person used to create that facade. Like, for instance, three of my favorite ones would definitely be, actually only two, because they're only, Angry Joe, the angry video game nerd, and nostalgia critic, all three of which, in real life, are nothing like their characters they portray. Same time, if you watch the videos of them that are out of, their characters, you can see why they decided to go with the route. Because I've seen plenty of Senior Massacre videos where James Rolfe, guess what? He's had some pretty intense rage moments while not being a dog walker. I've seen some videos where he's a bit legitimately triggered by things, a bit obnoxious at times, but that's his opinion. And for Angry Joe, when he's making his reviews, he oftentimes has this cool little character. Somewhat of a character, but at the same time, he's more satirical. And it works well, but at the same time, I can see why he chose to go with that more satirical style. So really, if you say someone putting up a facade, you have to remember, that means within that facade, you're acknowledging if someone's supposedly an evil person and they put on a facade, someone who is not an evil person, deep down in that person is good in them. And the fact of the matter is, people disregard it. And I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to hate on me for my opinion. I forgive Ultima for what he's done. Yeah, he's done some awful things, but he acknowledges they were mistakes. He regrets them. For people who've made mistakes, there are probably tons of other smaller YouTubers and slightly bigger YouTubers who've made mistakes and caused controversy, and all of a sudden now stuck in a state where they have nothing anymore. Ultima himself said, he made mistakes. I can only go through and learn from them. He states, I made a mistake. He always makes these videos like, blah blah blah, except every time he's lying, this happens. Really now? Is that really the best use of your time? Yeah, it could be somewhat funny for people who hate the guy. But if you're an actual person with a fucking brain, who is capable of comprehending and perceiving the world besides what they hear, what they see, and can actually look deep into words, these videos are nothing more than awful, hateful generators of disgusting hate. I mean, yeah, that's kind of the best way to describe it. And really, they're horrible. Here's the thing about hate. When you generate hate, it keeps growing until either it passes by or the hate is shown to be false. And guess what? From the looks of it, in our society, no one's willing to try and show why hate is bad. Even me, I'm not an adult yet. I'm still a kid according to society. I'm 17. Sure, plenty of people will praise me for this, like, this kid's actually knowing something good. At the same time, that's from older people. What people understand is, yeah, this is why we need people like him in politics, people who are honest. But then you keep on going. And then you get to situations like, this kid knows a lot. This kid knows a lot for his age. That pisses me off even more. Because that's stupidity at its finest. Disregarding. When you disregard something, it's the equivalent of just seeing this beautiful flower or gemstone, but you disregard it because the dirt is well kept. Or like something like the really well kept plant or a really cool jewel encrusted item, and then you just disregard the centerpiece of it, or the part that was supposed to be made. Like, for instance, you disregard a sword for how shiny it looks, or you disregard a crown, like you disregard the gold, or like the craftsmanship, because it's jewel encrusted. And it pisses me off, too. Because if the smartest person in the world was a child, people would say, for a kid, he's really smart. He's made some great contributions for a kid. You're disregarding his intelligence. All you're pointing to is that he's a smart kid. And when he is an adult, then he'll actually get proper recognition. He'll never state his anger, because people are just going to knock it off to a little kid being a brat. And he's going to be cast aside. And this is why I made this. This has become less of a rant and more of a discussion now. Which is what I want videos like these to be like. Less of opinionated or anger-driven rants, but more of a calm, collective, factual stating, somewhat, even though I don't really have experience in things like these, something that is actually thought through, something that's well developed, something coherent, something that can actually benefit people, something that isn't going to spread hate. To YouTubers who have suffered from situations like this, persevere. Because deep down within you, there is a good person, no matter what people tell you. In fact, I'm going to bring up certain other things, other parts of stupidity that kind of just piss me off, that I honestly hate. And again, I say, hate is something I wish I did not have for things. Hate is something I don't want. But when it comes right down to it, I'm a human being. Sometimes you can't control things. People say, oh, I loved Undertale, or I loved FNAF, or I loved Sonic, or I loved Mega Man, or I loved Homestuck, or I loved Barbie, or I loved Beyblade, or I loved Yu-Gi-Oh!, or I loved Bakugan, like tons of old stuff, or I loved Pokemon, or I loved Digimon. Let's see, what else can I mention? Let's see here, Mario. Let me think. Nintendo, Sega in general, Nintendo in general. Should have said that instead of just Nintendo. Street Fighter. Tons of other game series that you can think of. Basically, any fandom you can think of, say, oh, I love this, but the fandom ruined it for me. Really. Something ruined it for you. From the sounds of it, it doesn't seem like it took much. Having something ruined is when something is, I think it's more like broken or destroyed. Something actually ruined. Something ruins it for you, that's because you let it ruin it for you. To the Undertale fans, I say, be like Sans. Don't let stuff get under your skin. Well, actually, he doesn't have skin. He's a skeleton. Just an absence. I say, think of it this way. Despite everything, the lore is still cool. And you can still do something good with it. To Homestuck fans, it's the people who do any fandom really, remember what the core essence of the thing you love is, not what the world does to it, not what it's become. Enjoy something for what it is, and enjoy what the world has to offer. I know it's going to be stupid, but I'm going to pull a quote from Super Fun Nights at Freddy's, a FNAF fan game that got quite a bit of attention in late 2016. And it took a very well-written approach to the FNAF story. And it was really well put together. And at the same time, at the end of the game, you're presented a choice. The cutscene goes like this. Springtrap and the puppet. Same place. The puppet stayed mortal so we can understand what happened. Explaining everything, you can clearly tell Springtrap William in this case, even though, sadly, it's been debunked that Springtrap is the murderer. It's William Michael after. Never mind that. That's different video, different time. Don't just ignore that. It says, "What's the most difficult question you could ask?" Then he says, can you forgive me? You're presented a choice. Choice is what you choose. Say yes. Do you say no? If you say yes, the response is, what's the most difficult answer to give? Yes. So here's my take on what that basically states. You can quote this all you want. I want this to be a quote, because I want people to look at this quote, be impressed by its intelligence, not because a kid made it. Here's the quote. It takes a brave man to ask for forgiveness. Actually, wait. I screwed up my own quote. Sorry about that, everyone. Allow me to actually focus for a bit. It takes a strong person to ask for forgiveness. But it takes an even stronger one to give forgiveness. What that states is, if someone's asking for forgiveness, and they honestly regret their actions, they want to make amends, they want to do better, but they end up doing things they regret, and they ask for forgiveness honestly, and there is legitimate regret in them. They ask the question. Give them forgiveness. Because if you don't, really, who's the evil person? Reminds me of another quote from the Bible, in fact. Judge not, lest you yourself be judged. And there are tons of other quotes from tons of other religions and cultures and societies that state, forgive and forget. Someone who is willing to forgive is a stronger person than someone who can ask for it. At the same time, that means someone is willing to learn from their mistakes, and is willing to show emotion. But it's willing to show emotion and accept and cast off their hatred. That's all I can really put into this video right now. And I know this dragged on for a long time, but I'm kind of glad it did. To be personally honest, the fact that it did help me calm down and really prove my point. Do not just consider this a rant. Consider this a discussion video. Because, guess what? Although I was blinded by anger in the first, probably 5 minutes, I've calmed down. I'm being much more coherent. I'm being a bit careful with my words so I don't flub up my words. Comes right down to it. Hate only breeds hate. Rant videos don't solve a problem. Exposed videos don't solve a problem. 2 blank videos don't solve a problem. All they do is make the situation worse for everyone. Because then you get people who are telling the person who made the mistake that you're an awful, horrible person, that you should die. The person that was wrong, that they should take action against them. They should do what they can to make sure this person pays. And then you get people who claim to once respect the person. Say, I no longer respect you. And that's even more infuriating. Because respect means you value someone's being. You value life. You value it for what it is. Not actions don't, influence that. If you claim to have no respect for someone, then you can't say you have respect for anyone. Because if you can't value the life of one human, you can't value the life of anything at all. Here's a simple analogy kind of made for this. Imagine a dude running a video game store. He gets games a bit later, after patches have been released, so the game's better quality. Sorry, a bit snotty, stuffed up because of winter. Seriously, I hate winter. Back to the analogy. But because later they have a slight price drop, so you get a better game for a lower price. And he gets the same amount most stores do. He makes a stable income to feed his family. All of a sudden, the big superstore comes in, and they get games right when they release for incredibly expensive prices that will bankrupt everyone else who buys them. Or they put them at really low discounts. And it's just but then they have the pre-orders that are super expensive that people just have to get. And so all of a sudden, all these stores are bought out. He's one of the few left standing. So he and some of the ones standing left, and some who've had to, no choice but close down. They decide to burn the superstore down. They make sure no one's in the place. They make sure no employees are currently in. They constantly check. No one's in there in the store. And so then they burn it down. It's traced back to them. And they're sent to prison for arson. But when they come out, likely on good behavior, he's hated by everyone. Guess what? He too must close down his store. He even has to sell it, and he's still hated. Because everyone's going to call him a horrible bee monster for burning down another store just because of competition. They weren't competition, they were a dangerous monopoly, threatening the stability of their small town. As all of a sudden, these people keep constantly buying, but then they realize they spend more than they actually need, and then all of a sudden, people are starting to become poorer and poorer. And then when power struggles come, all of a sudden, the power is directed towards the store. People are suffering. People are homeless because they can't provide for their families. People have no choice but to work for the store at low prices for awful hours. No benefits. And all they are is stuck. And guess what? They're still hated. I want to thank you all if you listen to the whole video. Because I honestly do appreciate people take time to listen, to perceive and comprehend, to focus and honestly try to look in themselves and actually try to look past their hatred and use it, not use hate, but use their minds in an intelligent, coherent, and kind manner. I suppose would be best. A smart way to think. A way so that people don't have to be singled out. And really, I can't say anything else. I'm almost out of words. But again, I say thank you all so much. If you've listened to the whole video, I honestly thank you. So long, everybody.